everybody, welcome back to Go Read Some Comics with me, Professor Jenna. Some Marvel news dropped today that stopped me in my tracks so much I have to make a video about it. Deadline is reporting that Marvel Studios has paused development on 3 potential Disney Plus series, Nova, Strange Academy, and Terror Inc. The key word here is paused, as the report does indicate that any of these shows could come to fruition at a later point, but they represent such a wide and very specific range of Marvel canon, both in the comics and in the MCU, that I just have to break it down. First is Nova, the show that we've known the most about, thanks in large part to my Phase Hero co-host Brandon Davis, who has done his journalistic duty asking about it at any available chance that he gets. Moon Knight's Sabir Pirzada was originally brought on to develop the project before Criminal Minds' Ed Barreno was brought in this past December. The mantle of Nova has an interesting history. A proto-version of the character was introduced by writer Marv Wolfman in his 1966 fanzine Super Adventures. He was originally introduced as Star, an alien doctor who gets access to pills that give him different superhuman powers for 5 minutes at a time, before being redeveloped by Wolfman and writer Len Wein as a superhero dubbed Black Nova. Wolfman and John Romita Sr. revamped the character yet again in 1976's The Man Called Nova #1 as Richard Rider, a working-class high school student from New York who was chosen to rebuild the intergalactic Nova Corps. Think Hal Jordan's origin as Green Lantern with a Marvel twist and with the various cosmic superpowers coming from a helmet instead of a ring. Nova quickly became a fan-favorite cosmic character both on his own and as a member of the Nova Corps, the New Warriors, and the Guardians of the Galaxy. He plays a key role in the Annihilation event and was believed to have died after fighting Thanos in the Thanos Imperative event. This brings us to Rider's successor as Nova, Sam Alexander. Created by Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness in 2011's Marvel .1 #1, Sam is also a working-class high school kid who discovers that his dad was secretly a member of the Nova Corps. Sam then has his own history with the Champions and the newer incarnation of the New Warriors, ultimately meeting Richard. The Nova show had the potential to dive into Richard and Sam's respective stories and possibly a sort of mentor-mentee relationship between the two of them, and Marvel TV's Brad Winderbaum hinted at a Star Trek-like ensemble approach to the show. As someone who wants to see more of the Marvel cosmic side, especially after the Guardians trilogy wrapped everything up so nicely and the Nova Corps have been so unexplored, it is a bit of a bummer that this is being put on the back burner. I was also super curious to see how the Marvel cosmic world would translate on a TV budget. Next, we have Strange Academy, a concept that was created by Scotty Young and Humberto Ramos in 2020's Strange Academy #1. To an extent, it's exactly what it sounds like. A school for magical students founded by Doctor Strange with a rotating faculty of essentially every mystical Marvel character. The student body of Strange Academy consists mostly of new kid characters, with some highlights being a frost giant, a fairy, the children of Enchantress, and Doyle Dormammu, the brilliantly named son of Dormammu. Strange Academy has felt like a project that has been perpetually rumored for the MCU, especially as a potential vehicle to show Wong and America Chavez following the events of Multiverse of Madness. Given how long it has been since we've seen either of them, I definitely wouldn't have been opposed to the show, and it could have been a fun vehicle for introducing or having cameos from other mystical characters. That being said, given the ever-growing number of Marvel characters whose storylines we're still waiting on any sort of development for, I can see the logic of not introducing another whole new ensemble. And finally, we have the biggest wildcard of this news, Terror Inc. To say its history is convoluted would kind of be an understatement. The character was technically introduced by D.G. Chichester, Margaret Clark, and Klaus Janson in 1988's St. George #2 as Shrek, not that Shrek, a green-skinned mob enforcer in an alternate superhero-less world. According to his later backstory, his appearance and powers, which include gaining the abilities of others through absorbing their severed limbs, were a curse brought upon him when he killed an ancient demon centuries prior. He then hopped over into the main Marvel universe through mysterious means, debuting in 1992's Daredevil 305 as Terror. This gimmick allowed him to be a disgusting part of the mob community, going up against Daredevil, the Punisher, and joining Deadpool in the Mercs for Money. A decades-long debate surrounded whether or not Shrek and Terror were actually the same character, until the 2005 official handbook of the Marvel Universe confirmed as much. I'm gonna be honest, Terror Inc. is a comic blind spot for me before this news dropped, and the thought of a Terror Inc. show slightly boggles my mind. I could have seen the appeal of it as another Werewolf by Night like Halloween special presentation, which we need way more of, by the way. I'm shocked we have not had any further special presentations, or even his gimmick as a pared-down procedural show a la Human Target. The connection to Daredevil does make me curious if this would have spun out of the events of Born Again in the MCU's corner of New York, but it feels like such a grotesque and weird concept even for Disney+. But overall, I do get why, on the road to Doomsday and Secret Wars and whatever comes after, these projects are being put on the back burner. The mindset of developing more than you make as opposed to being beholden to a specific slate definitely has its perks, and I do love the wide variety of genres and eras of comic canon that were encompassed just by these 3 projects. It makes me even more curious to see what shows become a reality, both new shows and second seasons of other shows, as the next 2 Avengers movies really become a focus. What do you think of today's Marvel news? How do you feel about these 3 shows being put on the back burner? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends if you haven't already done so. If you would like to buy merch to support this channel, you can head on to the link in the description. As always, you can find me on social media at Hey It's Jenna Lynn. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, go read some comics.